Now you have seen my instructional videos. You know how to build your opening, how to get your opening repertoire, and you are strong enough to survive opening. So you got the middle game. And somehow you match your opponent with a strength, and you got to endgame. And if you don't know what to do in the endgame, in this case your opening and middle game will not do you any good. So whether you like it or not, you're going to learn endgame also. Here, to give you a few tips about our endgames and basics of endgames, of pawn ending and rook ending, and other basic endings. Again, world champion Anatoly Karpov.
Well, so first of all, I would like to say the main difference between opening, middle game, and ending. In the opening, your king is in the center, and you try to put your king out of the center in safe position. In the middle game, this is one of the most important rules. Your king should be safe. But in the ending, your king becomes the most strong piece on the board. And so position of your king becomes extremely important. And in ending, king is the most strong piece. And you should bring king as more centralized as possible. Then you gain space, then you can win a game. And just to bring you some ideas about the ending, we should start from the most simple pawn ending, king, and a pawn against king. And then the first position which I want to present you would be the typical position which we call opposition. So king is on e5, white king, black king on e7, and then white pawn on e4. Then the solution is if white moves, draw, if black moves, white wins. So this is the most simple opposition. Why? It becomes draw when white moves. This position becomes draw when white moves. Of course, the main idea to promote pawn. And so we try with the king. King goes to f5. Then black king keeps a position, king f7. Then we try another side, king e5, king e7, again a position, king d5, king d7. And so black king stops white king. We have no other opportunity, we just push a pawn, e5. Then king e7. Then we must play e6. And
here I have a good opportunity to make fatal mistake. I have 2 or 3 moves that will lose, and only one move that makes a draw. Here are the 3 moves. All dark squares will lose. Only white square will draw. So this move loses after
king d6, e7, and then you have to release the way of white king. So king supports pawn, and next move we promote pawn for the queen.
So in this position, for the same reason, my move king f8 is losing.
The same way?
Same reason.
Yes, king d6, e7, and again black to move. So that's why only one move is making.
However, after king e8,
king d6, and opposition again. King d8, e7 check, king e8, and as you can discover, we have 6 moves with the king, so 5 moves, c5, c6, c7, pawn is not protected. Only 1 move we can protect the pawn, but then this is stalemate.
Okay, so this position is a draw. Is this position, when black king is in front of white king, is this always a draw when it's white's move?
When it is white's move, so we can change the position. We can move this side. King e6. This is draw. We can move
Same
here.
rules apply.
Yes. King e5. This is draw. But if we push one line further, king e6, king e8, and pawn on e5, this position is winning without difference. White to
regardless whose move is it.
Yes, white to move or black to move. It's very easy. Now we can see king f6, king f8, e6, and this position
and
we know.
Black has to go here, and after e7, white wins.
White wins, yes. And then from this position we can easy to see what is the difference with the pawn on e3, for instance. How to judge this position? Regardless who is on move, position is winning for white, because if white moves, then e4, and we get position which we know, and if black moves, then king f7, white king comes to d6, and white king push out black king from e8.
And
push
now
out of the way.
Pawn just goes express from e3 to e8.
Very easily, yeah. And then, what will happen if pawn on e2? No difference. On e2 it's even easier. But there is a big difference in pawn ending when you have one pawn on the starting position. This is extremely important because in many positions you can play 2 squares or 1 square. But so this is for another lecture. And then I want to present you position, also one of the simplest position, pawn on f6, yeah, and king on e6. Black to move. Black to move, and then probably we just start to play without knowing the basic rule of pawn ending. So how the beginner would try to protect.
If it's my move and I play black, I'm gonna try to move king to one of the 4 available squares. And we're gonna see now, so regardless where I move my king, I'm losing. So this is my first try.
King e7. And so now we have many opportunities, but only one is winning. If I come to f5, just trying to make this very nice exit to g6, then black stops me. King f7. And then I have to go back, or after I play g5, f takes g5, we know this position. If I take with the pawn, then king g7 and draw. If I take with the king g7, opposition, and draw again. So that's why after king e7, I go to d5. And then black tries to keep a position. King d7. Then f5. So black to move. King e7, and then king c6, and then we push the black king out of f6 pawn.
Now, in about 3-4 moves, white king is gonna take black pawn. Regardless what I do, if king e8, king d6, king f7, and it's
king d7.
Very well-known pattern here.
Right.
And slowly white king pushes black king
out,
away from defending f pawn.
But then we remember this very nice rule of opposition.
So what about my other moves besides king e7? What if I try to go king d6?
If you go to d6, then king f5,
now I go
pawn,
king e7.
King e7, and then king g6. And again,
now I'm losing my pawn even faster.
No, not immediately, but king e6, then f5 check, king e5, and then king g7, and we take this pawn.
Next move, white king is going to take black pawn.
Right. So,
for the same reason, king f7 is losing.
King f7, then what happens? Then we keep opposition, and black to move now.
And no matter which way I move, g7 or e7, white king moves to the opposite side. If I go here,
then king g6,
and if I go to g7,
then king e6, and easy win.
But if I know previous example with opposition with king and pawn versus king, then
f5.
Then after f5,
the best
I
move.
have a lucky chance for a draw, because I sacrifice my second pawn.
But g takes f5 check. Then
now I move king f6.
Then king e3.
King takes f5.
King f3.
And now we know this position as draw.
King f6, then king e4, king e6, f5, king f6, and so we come to the position king f4.
And the same pattern works.
Yes,
now
king e5,
black defense.
Check, king f7, king f5.
And again, I have to make the only correct move, which is king to f8. Because after those two moves, and king e6 followed by f7, white wins.
And so then we need to talk about another two basic rules. So this is the rule of square and triangle of the king. Square. So, very simple example how white can win in this position. We play f5. So then black takes on f5. Then we play g5.
Why not g takes f?
If we take on f5, then king d5. King f3, king e5, king g4, king f6. This will be winning, but this is much more difficult, so we want to explain the simplest way. f5, g takes f5, g5, g5. And then,
now
if you if you play h5, for instance.
If I play h5, what happens?
Then g6, and you cannot stop the pawn. So that's why black takes on g5. And now, if you play h5, this would be correct, and so black king cannot stop the pawn. But if you take on g5, then this is the rule of the square. King comes to d5. And now you can see the square, g6, king e6. So this is even smaller square, g7, king f7, and king stops the pawn.
Oh, I see. So the rule of the square is, this is the square. This is the square. 4 on each side. So with the black king is within a square with this white pawn. So that's why black has a chance to catch white pawn. And this position is a draw.
And then, from this position, we can see also another rule. If we play f5, g takes f5, and then we don't know the rule of square, and we miss opportunity with g5 and h5, which is winning. So we take here, then king comes to d5, then king f3, then king e5, king g4, king f6, king f4, and h5. So now we can win easily with king e4, then you have to play king e7, king e5, king f7, f6, and so everything is...
Now white can easily win
Yes.
h1.
Yes,
But
h1.
maybe it's a better defense for black if they don't play h5.
Yes.
So if black plays without h5, just stands back.
And then king e5, then f6 check. Then what we'll do? So king f8.
King e8.
King e8. King e8, yes. Then we can win two ways. King f5, then king f7, and then h5. And so
And
this
now
is...
it's a Zugzwang, and I'm losing my
Yes.
h-pawn, and I'm losing game.
Yes. And then another way, king e6, king f8. And now we can see that if we play f7, then h5, and this is draw. So we play h5, then king e8. And so now we must use this rule of triangle.
Yeah.
If we push a pawn f7, this is draw again. King f8, king f6, and draw. That's why we need to use this special rule. King e5, king f8, only move. If king f7,
King f7, then
king
king
f5.
f5, and next move is king g6.
right, then king f8. And so now we must realize that for king on e6, black should keep king on e8. And if we have king on f5, black must keep king on f7. So this will be the draw. But the point is that we have more squares to maneuver with the king. We play king f4.
Oh, in other words, what we're trying to do here, we try to get the same position with black to move.
With black to move, yes.
If it's black's move, then black is losing, because on this move,
we come with the king e6,
right, and on king f7,
king f5.
Oh, I see. So now white is triangulating.
So we play king f4.
King e8. We know that we can't go to f7 because of king f5.
Right. That's why.
So I have to go king e8.
Then we play king e4.
I have no choice. King f8.
And then king e5. And so we achieved our aim. Now black to move. And
black loses next move. And then on king f7, king f5.
Or king e8, king e6.
This is another rule which is very important when white has to triangulate to get the same position they had with opponent to move.